Is the new Walking Dead any good? Or is it the same thing we were bored of 8 years ago? All this and more on today's episode of... the sweet, sweet smell of rotting flesh in the morning. It's time to dive back into the world of The Walking Dead, a universe that, much like its titular zombies, refuses to stay dead. This time, we're treated to The Walking Dead Dead City, a title so redundant it's almost poetic. It's as if the creators sat down and thought, how can we make it abundantly clear that this show is about dead things in a city? And there you go. Dead City was born. Before we go any further, smash the like and subscribe like our boy Negan smashes heads. Okay, enough pathetic YouTuber begging, let's get into it. Now, you might be thinking, oh, a new spin-off. Maybe they've finally decided to shake things up a bit. But alas, my dear listener, you'd be sorely mistaken. The first few episodes are so similar to the original series that you might as well be watching Season 12 of The Walking Dead. It's like going to a restaurant, ordering something new, and getting served the same dish you've had 100 times before. Sure, they might have sprinkled some parsley on top and called it a day, but underneath, it's the same old meat and potatoes. The plot kicks off with our heroine Maggie in a bit of a pickle. Her son Herschel has been kidnapped by a terrifying settlement leader known as the Croat and taken to the remnants of New York City. Now, I don't know about you, but if my child was kidnapped and taken to a city overrun by zombies, I'd want the best of the best on my rescue team. Maybe a Navy SEAL, or at least someone who hasn't brutally murdered one of my loved ones. But Maggie? She turns to Negan, the man who bludgeoned her husband with a baseball bat. But hey, desperate times call for desperate alliances, right? Spoiler alert, Negan hasn't mellowed out. He's still the same old bat-swinging, leather jacket-wearing bad boy we all know and loathe. He's wanted for a handful of murders and is being pursued by a marshal from a more peaceful settlement. But don't worry, the show assures us that the real threat isn't the zombies or the homicidal maniacs, but man's inhumanity to man. Groundbreaking, I know. It's as if they're trying to say, hey, remember how in the original series the humans were often worse than the zombies? Well, guess what? Humans are still terrible. It's a revelation that's about as shocking as finding out Clark Kent is Superman. The new characters introduced are about as memorable as a McRib sandwich from Mickey D's. They come, they monologue, they die, and the cycle continues. The monologues are so interchangeable that you might find yourself tuning out after the third or fourth sob story. It's like listening to a broken record of despair and misery. Oh, you lost someone you loved in the apocalypse? Join the club. We've got matching jackets. But hey, at least we get to see New York City in ruins, right? Except the cityscape is so digitally altered that it's hard to feel any sense of authenticity. It's like looking at a postcard of New York that's been put through a shredder and then hastily taped back together. The settings alternate between over-augmented versions of recognizable landmarks and generic alleyways and tunnels that could be anywhere. It's a far cry from the early seasons of The Walking Dead, where the desolation of Atlanta was palpable and haunting. The only real shift in this series comes in the 5th and 6th episodes, where the storytelling becomes a tad more fragmented and challenging. It's like the show suddenly remembered it was supposed to be a spin-off and decided to try something new. There's even a Walker variation that's genuinely freaky. But up until that point, the show is carried by the same old formula we've seen time and time again. It's like watching a rerun of a rerun, a copy of a copy, a clone of a clone. You get the idea. The show's biggest saving grace is its two leads, Maggie and Negan, played by Lauren Cohan and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, respectively. Cohan brings a feral intensity to her role, her southern accent wavering in and out like a radio signal in a storm. It's a performance that's as inconsistent as it is captivating. Morgan, on the other hand, is a whirlwind of manic energy, his character's homicidal tendencies tempered only slightly by his newfound role as a reluctant hero. It's a dynamic that's as volatile as it is compelling, but even their performances can't mask the show's glaring issues. The new characters are forgettable, the plot is predictable, and the setting is disappointingly generic. It's a show that's stuck in the past, unable to break free from the shadow of its predecessor. It's like watching a child trying to fill their parents' shoes, only to trip and fall flat on their face. So if you're a diehard fan of The Walking Dead and you're content with more of the same, then Dead City might be right up your alley. But if you were hoping for something fresh and exciting, Well, you might want to keep on walking, because at the end of the day, The Walking Dead Dead City is just more of the same old, same old. It's a show that's stuck in a loop, doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. It's a show that's lost its way, wandering aimlessly like the very zombies it features. But hey, who knows? Maybe the next spin-off will be different. Maybe it'll break the mold and give us something new and exciting, or maybe it'll just be more of the same. Only time will tell. But until then, we'll just have to keep trudging along, hoping for a glimmer of originality in a sea of sameness. Because in the world of The Walking Dead, hope is all we have left. And as we've learned time and time again, hope is a dangerous thing to lose.